3-4 years ago is looking at you, what would you tell her now? She's right over there.
I think you said, when you just asked that, I went back to what Reverend Wangi said in the last week.
Yes.
Chelimo, don't take yourself too seriously. Anyway.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Wherever you're joining us around the world, welcome to another episode of Tuesday Connect. Who's speaking to you? My name is Isaac Mushira Murage, pastor for adults, marriage and family ministries here at Mamlaka Hill Chapel. And it gives me great pleasure to be able to introduce to you our visitor for today, or rather our guest, and none other than Chelimo Njoroge.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Very excited to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Chelimo happens to be a part of our volunteers here at Mamlaka Hill Chapel, but more than that, a congregant whom we really love. And more than that, I like calling her an administrative guru. But before we go too far, Chelimo, what do you do?
So again, thank you for having me here.
Yes.
So I'm a practitioner in the development world.
Okay.
I support monitoring and evaluation at an international NGO that is based here in Kenya. And yeah, apart from that, I am married to a great man.
Okay.
Joram Njoroge.
Okay.
That is I think I like to say that is my full-time job.
Okay.
As a wife to that great man.
Okay.
And it gives me great pleasure to be here and to engage in this conversation.
Right. Fantastic.
Yes.
And where do you hail from?
So I come from Kitale.
All right.
Yeah.
The bread basket of Kenya.
Bread basket, yes. If you're looking for some serenity away from the hustle and bustles of Nairobi,
yes,
welcome to our hometown in Kitale.
Sure.
Yes, coming from a big family.
Okay.
About seven of us are girls.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I really enjoy about that is that I grew up with my twin sister.
Okay.
Who, is a big part of my life.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
All right. And so it's karibu sana. If you are obviously joining us for the very first time, we have been going through a series on relationships here at Mamlaka. We started off with how to be able to live an honorable single life. And that was tackled by Kathy together with, I believe it was Reverend John Agagwa and obviously Pastor Ted. They were able to handle that quite well. And just last week, myself and Reverend Wangi, we happened to have looked at the whole area of pre-marital counseling, but more than that, at the misconceptions around marriage. And today we want to be able to talk to Chelimo. Chelimo has been married for 3.5 years now. It will be 4 years in April. And we just want to be able to talk about just that journey. And maybe the first thing I'd like to ask you is, how did you and Joram meet?
Oh yeah, that brings great memories that you ask that. So we worked together. Okay. At an NGO that we both got into when we were in university. We didn't go to school together, but that particular NGO worked in both in the universities that we were both in. And it was a transition from there that we got employed into said NGO. And we worked together for about 4 years before that we just met. I mentioned I am a twin, he's also a twin. So I remember the first time I saw him,
yes.
And later on, I met the twin. I actually thought it was him. At that time, we didn't know much about each other. So
yes.
we worked together. I was his boss for some time, but how things change. Yeah, and about after 7 years of great friendship,
okay,
and being colleagues and getting to know one another, we felt we went back to God and just prayed about it. If this is a person God wants me to be with, and we all felt a great revelation from God that He has ordained Joam to be my husband, and he got the same from God.
Okay.
After that 7 years of great friendship, we dated for about 1.5 years. And got married in April of 2017.
April of 2017.
Yeah, it was a long journey, but the long and short of it is what I have shared.
Yeah,
an exciting journey. It was, yeah.
So you got married in 2017, yes. And that's, so you basically 3.5 years, huh?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
very good. Let me take you back to, last week, Reverend Mangi and I really delved a lot in the whole area of misconception about marriage. You talked about premarital counseling. And I'd like to find out, when you and Joram decided to kind of start dating, was it official that you're going to be dating with an aim of actually getting married?
It was.
Okay.
And the reason I mentioned that we took time to pray about it and got this revelation from God is because we were clear that we are getting into this for the long haul. I remember even before he had proposed or asked if I will marry him, we had even started planning for our wedding.
All right.
Yeah. Even before he even officially asked me out to be his girlfriend, we were already planning for long term and where we would like to see ourselves. Okay. So just to flash back to that time, because we had been friends for a long time, many people outside of us thought that we were a good fit for each other. We didn't see it. Yes. We had very many reasons that now when we look back to them, it's really non-issues. I remember one of it was that I was his boss. That's nothing permanent. That has since changed. Wow. We don't even work together. But at that time, it was such a big deal. At that time, I was earning more. By the time we were getting married, that had long changed. But for us, it was such a big, that we thought would be a deal breaker. But it wasn't really. It is, as we look at it now and as we share with other people, because it was not permanent, we look at it now as these are non-issues. All right. Yeah, he's 4 months younger than me. So we had so many reasons that made us not think that this will be us, what we have today. But many people outside of us saw it, and they will ask and just find out why not, why you're not considering this person. And we had a whole list of reasons that we laugh at today. So when we started processing it now for ourselves, I remember we took about 2 weeks. We didn't talk to one another. And this was my husband's idea. Let's not talk. Let's take time to pray. And we took time to pray about it. Just to process it for ourselves, what God is saying about this relationship. God spoke to him very clearly, even in scripture. And when we met, he felt like God had instructed him in this direction. God spoke to me in a lot of peace. I had so much peace in my heart thinking of the journey ahead. And from there, we with a lot of revelation from God, we did not hesitate. We started planning for what will be ahead. So that included getting into PMCC in Mamlaka. I have been married into Mamlaka. I fellowship somewhere else at that time. So getting into the same community, doing PMCC together. I remember we finished PMCC almost half a year before we got married. So it was something we went with a lot of intentionality to listen to God, and most importantly, to get to know one another. And the conversations in there really helped us to know how to process things, and especially conflict.
All right.
That's
very important. Obviously, for those of you who are watching this, you've been able to hear quite clearly that nothing really is ever that permanent, and one should be very careful not to make certain long-term judgments based on the present. But probably you want to ask Chelimo the following question. You talked a lot about praying and God speaking to you and all that. Huh?
Yeah.
And for the average guy out there or lady, maybe asking, was there some chemistry, physical attraction? I mean, or did just God speak? Oh, Chelimo.
Yes, there was a bright light, and God spoke. No, it built from relationship, and friendship, and we got into a space where we felt like we connected in more than just friendship. This is a person I want to talk to about how my day was, in the morning to say good morning, and same for him. So it grew from the friendship that we had to more of an exclusive friendship. This is a one person that I want to do, or he wants to do a bit more and spend a bit more time with. So there definitely was and is chemistry.
There was chemistry.
And even as God spoke into that space, we will relate to what God was saying, because we were also attracted to one another. Yeah.
That's good to be able to know. Okay, so guys, there was definitely attraction. And the reason why I'm chasing that is because one of the other things that obviously comes with dating is there's definitely attraction, and quite a number of people end up becoming physically intimate with each other. I think we talked earlier on, and you said that was an area where you basically kept a very major boundary around. And for somebody who's watching this and is watching you at this moment, how are you able to keep on the straight and narrow?
Oh yes, by God's grace, and only by God's grace.
Okay.
When we started processing where this will lead to, and as I've said, it came with a lot of clarity, even from the beginning. This was not a test and see. This was with walking in revelation and guided by God. And I feel like that first step was so important in making the decisions of even sexual purity before marriage. So that, God's grace, and a lot of support. As I probably mentioned to you earlier, we have met a couple that we worked with, and are still very, very, very good friends of ours till date. And they took, what we did, we approached them and asked, could you walk this journey with us? And they were very keen to ask, if we do this, we need to know if we have meddling rights in the relationship. Yes, we gave them the meddling rights during that time, and even now. And they kept us in check with what God says about purity before marriage. So some of the things I remember very vividly is because my husband will pick me and drop me to work from my home. And those who live in Nairobi, he will come from Ruaka, drive all the way to High Rise in the AM, drop me in Kilimani, which is, if I drove myself or if I took a taxi, it would be like 15 minutes. But he'd come from Ruaka to Mbagathi Way, drop me in Kilimani, go to Westlands, and he will pick me, drop me home. And that was our journey. So we spent a lot of time together. But in every other day, a mentor couple will call my husband Joram and ask, where are you? And if his response was he's in Ruaka, they will say, we are calling you in 30 minutes. We want to hear that you're in. If he hears that my husband is in High Rise, he'll say, we'll call in 30 minutes and we want to hear that you're in Ruaka. And they kept us accountable in that sense. And the intentionality to work with an older couple and give them the meddling rights really kept us in check. But this was not this would not have been possible if we had not made a commitment, a personal commitment to ourselves and to our marriage. But when you ask that, what I reflect on is why it was important. Yeah, the many couples at now who are planning to get married might or might not struggle with sexual purity if they have answered the why. If they have clarity, if they have clarity on why they are doing it, then they will not struggle. If they do not, then that will be a point of struggle. So for us, it was beyond the norm or the expectation, church and society expectation to be sexually pure, but it was a personal realization and understanding. And what we are reflecting on now, even with the decision that we made those many years ago, well, 4 years ago, is the kind of implication it has on our marriage today. Yeah. So if I made that commitment to my husband before I made the vow, I don't find it difficult to make it now. And we project that even in the future, that will not be an issue. But a lot of young people who are not sexually pure before they get married, the question is, what will make them be sexually pure or be committed to this one sexual partner after marriage? What is the commitment? Because they didn't keep it even before. So it brings an aspect of understanding why you're doing it and how it even implies in the decisions around fidelity that you make after. So yeah, probably we keep challenging young people. If you're thinking about, when you're thinking about this one person that you want to spend time with, and the commitments that you make now, to remember these same commitments they will make with you or with someone else thereafter. So if they are committed to you before and they have been sexually pure with you, there's the peace that comes with trusting this person that even after, when you have made the commitment, that they will keep it. But if not, then I think you walk in a place where you're not very sure or trusting if they will keep it thereafter.
All right.
Yeah, so it gives us a lot of peace that we did that.
All right.
Yeah.
I think major second point, that it's always good to be able to know the why. And I think Chelimo has been able to bring it out quite clearly that the why is as a result of the fact that if you can be able to be pure at this moment, then you can actually be able to go ahead and be pure in the future. Maybe the other thing that to be able to ask, during that season of courtship and many other things, there's a lot of love and chemicals in the air.
Yeah.
Were there some deal breakers for you guys, or if you are going to advise a young lady at this moment or a young couple, what are some of the deal breakers that they should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, great that you ask that. I think for us, and specifically for me, probably let me begin by reflecting on what was important for me.
Yes.
Before I met my husband, the relationships I was in, I took a lot of leadership.
Yes.
In those relationships, and that's my personality. I know what I want, and I will go for it. I know where we can go for a date. I have the plan. And it was very important for me that my husband will take leadership and provide a lot of direction, even in our in the small and hence the big things in our relationship. So one of the things when I said God spoke to me in a lot of peace is I asked God specifically that when the 2 weeks are over of seeking him, that when we meet with my husband, that he will have a full plan of how we will meet and what we will do. And it's not something I had experienced before. So quote unquote, my deal breaker at that time would have been if there was lack of leadership in that conversation. And I remember when my husband broke the silence after 2 weeks, and then friend, he told me I want us to meet on this day, at this time, at this place.
Yes.
And I immediately could pick a sense of responsibility and leadership in this man that I felt was very important for me.
Okay.
So why I bring that up is if there is a sense of responsibility, if there's a lack of responsibility or leadership or authority even before, I think it will be even more evident when you get married.
Okay.
So it could be the basic and small things.
Yes.
But what you will be assured of is when you get married to this person, the small and basic things that were not taken up by said spouse or said partner at that time, then it will translate as major things in marriage. So watch out. Watch out for the small things. And remember, marriage only amplifies. It only amplifies those things.
True.
If there is lack of responsibility and commitment at that time, then there will be even more during marriage. So how I reflect about it is not to underestimate the things that we observe when we are getting into the relationship. But the major one that I will say will be a deal breaker. And luckily, it was not for us because I met my husband when he already knows God, is someone who knows and fears God. So the knowledge, love, and fear of God in an individual, even before you get into a relationship with them, is a great deal breaker. If they know, love, and fear God, everything else then aligns. So the knowledge of God, someone who not only knows God, fears and loves Him, is an important thing that we must observe in the partner before you even get into any relationship. Everything else then adds up, aligns to that.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that. Again, I mean, today we're just getting major points. I think the other thing that Chelimo definitely saying here is that marriage only amplifies the small and the big things.
Yes.
Yes. And I think what I'm trying to say here is that the negative or the positives will only be more magnified or be amplified post-marriage.
Yeah. And it's I think when you talk about the small things, when I talk about love and fear of God, if and just making it practical, is the person honest? Does the person have small or what we call white lies or major lies? Or where are you from? And it's either it takes an hour conversation to get that out of them, or just a clear lie that comes out from that. When that kind of, we see that kind of dishonesty in early days in a relationship, that will only be amplified when you get married.
Wow.
But if it's someone who loves and fears God, then they will have a lot of this already addressed and brings out the fruits that God desires for us.
Wow.
How do they treat other people? You know,
True.
If Reverend Isaac, you were walking and someone stepped on your shoe.
Yes.
And they turn around and say, and you say sorry and like, it's okay. Or you aggressively come to them and say, hey, why are you not respecting me? And how you respond to them can already show what kind of person, kind of person you are. So how does this person engage with other people? How do they treat other people, whether you're there or not there? It really gives an indication of what this person is. So if their response to simple, usual things in life are not in line with what you like or your values or your principles, then that probably is a red flag. So it might be very small at that time, but just the assurity that we have is that these things will just amplify.
Yes.
It already shows the what is in their heart, and this will come out even in marriage. Yeah.
And I guess it's okay at that moment, scary as it is, to break off the engagement.
Yes.
Okay.
They say it's better a broken relationship than a broken marriage.
Oh, wow.
And once we have taken the vow and commitment before God and other people, we know from the Word of God that God does not is not for divorce.
True.
So for us to reflect and make a very intentional commitment before we get married is very critical. And when we see such red flags or deal breakers, I think we need to reflect and make that decision then, and not to be in a hurry to commit to a person until we know. I keep saying, get the revelation from God. It should not be, this is a commitment that we are making before God, and God is the architect of marriage. Then I should not be the one driving the marriage. It should be God.
Should be God.
So let it be very clear that God has instructed us in this path, even before we jump the gun. So having, those, it's a process. It's not an event that we get to meet someone and get married to them. So just trusting in the process and going through the process guided by God to the place where you actually make a lifetime commitment to this one person and keep that commitment then that we have made. Yeah, it's very critical.
Very critical.
Yeah.
3.5 years, almost 4 years later, I can't help but ask, what has been the disillusionment? And you're just being honest.
Yeah, and probably even as I share that, is to say it's been an exciting 3.5 years.
Even?
Yeah.
Yes.
It has been a pure joy to do life with my husband Joram. It has been a great turn of my life and his life too. Walking in purpose and building life with someone. It's been a great joy.
I must feel like you're setting me up for the. Okay, go ahead.
No, I think it's very important to say that. So that because even with all that glam, there's always things that come with it. So getting into marriage, we had great expectations as individuals, but also as a couple. And a big one for me was to spend all waking moments, all of my time with this man. And that's my expression of love. I have learned that I truly value quality time. But what marriage has shown me is also we're individuals, even as we come to a unit in marriage. And as much as I desire to spend all the time that I have with my husband, he as an individual also desires to spend a lot of time just by himself doing some of the things that he just enjoys doing. And these 3.5 years is teaching me rather. Still in the process of learning, is teaching me to both enjoy the time that we have together and also give him time just by himself. We have made a lot of adjustments in our life to fit that, so that we are able to have time together, but also have time that he values separate for our life. I was sharing with you this morning, I struggle with the concept of me time. That as an individual, I do not understand it, but I have learned to understand it in marriage, and that gives a lot of joy also to my husband. So, yeah, it has come with a lot of clarity and I will not say disappointment, but a lot of clarity of how people are different, but then finding a point of convergence in the unit of marriage.
Chalimo from 3-4 years ago is looking at you. What would you tell her now? She's right over there.
I think you said when you just asked that, I went back to what Reverend Wangi said in the last week. Chalimo, don't take yourself too seriously. I think to enjoy the process. My reflection to myself even now is take a day at a time. You do not have to have the full picture. Yesterday I was talking to someone, and one of the things that came out is the reason we do not have an answer of when we will die, what will happen to our life and so on, is because ensures that we have a reliance on God because He has the full picture and we get to live it in part. Wow. So as we live a life, progressively we get to, it is unveiled, the progress is unveiled to us. And trusting that God has a good plan for me, God has a good plan for my marriage, for me and my husband, and living one day at a time. Okay. I do not have to have all the answers. Yes. I do not have to address all issues in my life today and even in my marriage, but continuously as I trust in God for myself and for my marriage, to trust that He is in charge and that He has only good plans for us and that those plans will be unfolded even as we live. Right. And to be faithful. To be faithful. For where we are now. Okay. To be faithful to honor Him with ourselves and also in our marriage and with our marriage, to honor Him and let Him continue to speak into that space. Let God be God. Let God be God. And that also in our life and in our marriage. All right. Yeah. Chelimo. Okay. Future to learn that. Yes. Yeah.
3-4 years of marriage, how does this make you maybe appreciate your parents and their marriage?
Yeah, many things I still admire when I look at my parents. But that is very different now that I'm in marriage. At that time, I saw and appreciated their marriage, but also saw a lot of fault. Yes. But now even the faults that I see in their marriage, I also appreciate it in the sense of how they handle it.
True that.
Yeah, so being in a similar space of marriage that my parents are in, I have come to appreciate the decisions they are making and how they make it together. So one of the things that I have really admired from my parents and that I desire for that even for me and my husband is that in good and bad times they do it together. Okay. The life in what we the vows we took in sickness and in health, they have lived it.
They have lived it.
They've lived it in their life. Okay. And I now not just appreciate it, we intentionally learn from it, very practically, so that it is not just theoretically as a vow, but practically working towards it. Yeah, and many other things. Learning also from what we perceive as mistakes that they made, and trusting or trying to do different or to do better, and also appreciating who we are, our backgrounds, our baggages, even as we get into marriage. Yeah, and the life that we live.
Wow. Yeah. Chelimo, thank you so much for coming in and just being able to share such incredible insights. Folks, thank you for joining us today on Tuesday Connect. I think one of the few things I can be able to take away from just listening to Chelimo today is the fact that at the end of the day, marriage only amplifies the small things. And so even as you walk this journey, and even as you anticipate marriage, mine is able to say, God really, you can trust Him with your marriage, and you can trust Him with the big picture, and the rest will be able to follow. And that brings us to the end of Tuesday Connect today. Until next week, for myself and Chelimo, it is bye-bye.